I was wondering why is there a difference in the fee for registration for dogs and cats is only $3 and for exotic pets is $25?
The rabies vaccination that he's discussing is for rabies registration, and it's not a registering of the animal per se. It is required by state law that we give them a tag, we have this information on the tag, and sequentially provide a certificate with that. And that has been set up for years at that price. Now the other subject he's talking is not a registration, it's a permit fee.
So you don't need a permit fee for a dog or a cat, but you need a permit fee for an exotic animal? I'd like for someone to define under abuse, it says the physical and psychological mistreatment of an animal. Could someone define psychological mistreatment for me?
Would anyone like to offer a response to that question?
Okay, let me explain something to you. First of all, when we're talking about psychological mistreatment, there are a lot of signs, a lot of symptoms that you can look at in an animal that's obviously been abused by withholding food or by shutting up in a room, in a dark environment for days at a time as forms of punishment, and creates either an aggressive animal or to create an animal that is not normally behaving the way that he should behave. It creates just as it would a child or another individual, it creates a psychological damage profile.
I appreciate that answer. Do you have something to say about it? Under owner, it says any person who has right of property or custody of an animal or who harbors, keeps, or fines and knowingly permits the animal to remain on or about his premises for more than 48 hours. Does that mean the animal control will pick up the animal within 48 hours since I am known about it, or will it still be considered my ownership if they don't pick it up before then?
If you contact the office, we will pick it up within the 48 hours.
It says when a living animal is impounded or confined and continues without necessary food or water for more than 24 consecutive hours, any law enforcement officer may, as often as necessary, enter any place in which the animal is impounded and confined and supply it with necessary food and water as long as it remains impounded or confined. Who's going to pay for that?
It depends on if we can find the owner. If we have to take it to court, then the court's going to adjudicate that. If it's an animal that the owner has skipped out and is, we are unable to contact, then quite honestly, we put the bill, but it's better than letting the animal starve.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments from the public? Yes, sir.
My name's John Stelly, and I live on the north side of town. The city council annexed us, I don't know, 68, 69, and then someone took it to court, and we're still in limbo. But in any case, my problem is I own 2 orphans, and I raise a few pheasants, pigeons, quail, ducks, geese, guineas, horse, and sheep, and they're all at loose in the yard. In the 2 orphans, according to the new ordinance, I have to have 2 acres. I've already asked that question, and I was told, oh, well, an acre is almost an orphan, so we won't address the problem. But if you put 2 acres in that ordinance, I'm sorry, the legal law is 2 acres. Therefore, I cannot have my Shetland pony that I've had back there since 1980 for my grandkids. That Shetland pony lives on a half an orphan because my back orphan, which is my backyard, has a huge oak tree and 2 buildings. I only have enough grass on half an orphan, and yet you're saying I have to have 2 acres. I think the requirement is a little bit too large. The rest of the ordinance, you've now allowed me to keep my chickens in the yard and my guineas and my ducks and whatever, and that's fine. but I still think you need to address the 2 acres. We live in Lafayette, we live in Acadia, and 90% of the property sold within the last few years, or further back, not the last few years, was sold in orphans, not acres. Talk to the old folks. Everybody will say, I bought so many orphans. Nobody bought acres. Other than that, I have no problem with the ordinance as now written. I do feel that, you know, as long as I maintain the health standards or the noise problem, whatever, I should be able to keep doing what I've been doing, and with the few animals that I have. And I thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments from the public?
I would like to,
Mr. Landry?
we spoke about the fowls, you know, keeping chickens. It does say pen, coop, or enclosure, but it also says that they have to be at least 25 feet from any building or structure used for sleeping, dining, living, or working. So you still have a restriction, and besides that, we will monitor the noise factor if we have complaints from neighbors.
Any other closing comments from any council member? I think we're now, two more comments from the public, and then we'll have the roll call on the ordinance as substituted.
Excuse me, my comment would be directed to Mr. Landry, where you are saying that in future, if there is any problem with the noise, you would consider it?
Oh, definitely.
Okay. I have been living in that house, in that subdivision, the last 14 years or 15 years. My neighbors in the back have still been exactly who they were when I bought the house, and the neighbors on the side are exactly who they were when I bought the house, and the neighbors in the front are exactly who they were when I bought the house. Nobody has ever complained about any noise from my yard. Now what happens if there is a turnover and one of the neighbors sells his house and somebody new comes in? Well, what happens then?
We'll let the police make that determination when.
Well, I mean to say, but
by the way, I must say that I have received a complaint from your neighbor about the noise. So don't say that none of your neighbors have complained. They've come to me personally, and I have not taken any action, hoping that this thing will be remedied and the people.
Yeah, but I mean to say,
comply
I have
with
not
their-
increased the size of my birds or the number of cages. They are still exactly what they were 14, 15 years. And, you know, as far as my situation is concerned, I was taken to the court and a judge ruled in my favor and signed that this was a pre-existing activity, and these neighbors who may have complained, and I don't need for you to divulge their identifications, they also had birds, or they had also supported some other people's activities. But when I came and bought the property, they had to take me to court, and I said, that's fine. And I gave all my proof and everything else to the judge, and I spoke with the judge, and he ruled in my favor. So I have not had any problems. I have got all those court papers with me. But I'm just saying that what happens if one of these neighbors just all of a sudden, for 14, 15 years, there is no problem, and all of a sudden they start calling for noise ordinance?
Well, the burden of the proof will be on them.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, what happens if there's a turnover in the neighborhood and some new people come to live?
I have no control over that.
I think he's
Because they
answered
will
that.
be buying their property subject to my birds.
I think he's answered that question, sir, and
Okay.
we'll move on to the next gentleman, and then we'll have any closing comments from the council member, and then we'll vote on this issue.
I'd just like a clarification.